Most people panic when someone starts pulling away. They feel the shift, the slower replies, the shorter messages, the sudden emotional distance, and instantly go into damage control mode. They try to fix it. They double text, ask if something's wrong, and become more available, more present, more eager, thinking that being more will somehow bring them back. But here's the truth, and it's the part no one teaches you. When someone pulls away, chasing them harder only confirms that they made the right choice in their mind. They're watching your reaction more than your words. They're not testing you for fun. They're subconsciously checking something vital. Can this person hold their ground when I stop feeding their ego? If the answer is no, if your whole sense of peace and confidence collapses the moment their energy shifts, they know they were never dealing with someone grounded, but someone attached. That's why the first step to reattaching someone who has pulled away isn't about reaching out. It's about reconnecting with yourself. You don't need to prove your worth through panic or earn your place with constant reassurance. What you need to do is the one thing most people can't stomach. Pull back with strength, not with pettiness. That means no passive-aggressive silence, no "look how happy I am without you" posts, and no fake moves meant to spark jealousy. Just stillness. Just stillness. A clean, confident detachment that says, I'm not going to beg to stay where I'm not valued. That's the first moment where the power shifts back to you. Not because you're playing games, but because you're playing games, but because you're finally refusing to play. It's uncomfortable, yes, but discomfort is where growth happens. When someone pulls away, it's your reaction that either reinforces their decision or makes them question it entirely. Here's the secret most never learn. Pulling away doesn't always mean they're gone. Sometimes it means they're waiting to see if you can hold your frame without their emotional presence propping you up. The people who pass that test don't chase. They recalibrate. They return to their purpose. They reconnect with their drive, the very energy that initially attracted them. The attraction didn't die. It just got buried under neediness. Your job now isn't to fix their distance. It's to fix the version of yourself that became reactive to it. That's how you regain your center. You were always the person they felt safe coming back to because you didn't collapse when they stepped back. That's what changes everything. Now, here's where most people mess it up. They think going quiet means doing nothing. They confuse stillness with waiting. So they go radio silent, but secretly check their phone every 5 minutes. They don't text, but every post is still directed at them. They stay away, but in their minds they're still orbiting, hoping, wondering, clinging to the idea that maybe, just maybe, they'll come back if they play it cool long enough. That's not stillness. That's stagnation in disguise. And people can feel it. People are incredibly intuitive. They can sense when your silence is filled with confidence and when it's just a mask for emotional dependency. So if your silence is secretly screaming, I hope this works, you've already lost the fray. Reconnecting with someone starts when your focus turns completely inward, not as a tactic, but as a genuine shift in attention. Because when they sense that your energy is no longer revolving around them, that's when their thoughts start revolving around you. The most powerful shift happens not when you go no contact to provoke them, but when you go no contact and finally remember who you are without them. The truth is, they didn't fall for someone who was constantly available. They didn't admire someone who prioritized them above themselves. They were drawn to the person who was rooted in purpose, who had emotional depth without being emotionally dependent. The person who could make them feel wanted without making them feel needed for their self-worth. That's what made them respect you. And respect you. And respect is the foundation of attraction. When you lose that, when your identity starts orbiting their moods, their responses, and their silence, that's when they pull away. But when you reclaim it, when you stop checking your phone and start checking in with yourself, when your mood is no longer defined by whether they text you back, but by whether you showed up for yourself that day, that's when they start to feel it. It won't make sense to them at first. In their mind, they had control. They had space. They expected your energy to shrink in their absence, but instead it grew. It expanded. It matured. And now you've become something they don't recognize anymore. Not because you changed for them, but because you evolved without them. And that's the moment when their curiosity starts to stir, not because you begged, but because you stopped chasing and focused on being your best self. You became too grounded to chase someone running in circles. You stopped orbiting, and now they're the one wondering if there's still space in your world. That's how reattachment starts, not with words, but with absence that speaks louder than presence. Here's something she never saw coming. You didn't pause your life waiting for her return. Most people hit emotional limbo when someone pulls away. They live in a constant state of what if? What if I lose them for good? What if they move on? What if they forget me? But the version of you she's now quietly watching isn't frozen in uncertainty. He's moving, not out of spite, not to make her jealous, but because you finally realize something most people never do. You are always the prize, not because you're arrogant, not because you think you're better, but because you started showing up for your own life again. Here's what that actually looks like. You stopped pouring energy into someone who couldn't match it. You stopped rehearsing conversations in your head and started focusing on the ones that actually build your future. You stopped wondering what she's thinking and started listening to what you've been ignoring in yourself. Because the truth is, reattachment doesn't happen in her inbox. It happens in your discipline, your routines, your choices, when no one is watching. And whether she admits it or not, she feels that shift. She doesn't need to see your gym selfies to notice you're sharper. She doesn't need to see your wins to feel your rising energy. She doesn't need your updates because energy speaks louder than updates ever could. The energy you're giving off now is quiet but undeniable. It says, I'm good either way. I didn't collapse. I re-entered. It says, I don't chase. I attract what's aligned. And most of all, it says, I'd rather lose someone than lose myself again. That's the most magnetic thing you can embody, because now, while she's out trying to fill the space with noise, you filled it with growth. You've made your silence a mirror, and she's starting to see her reflection in it clearly. That's when reattachment becomes real. Not because you reached out, but because your distance now carries a weight it never had before. For you're no longer her safety net. You're the standard she can't stop comparing others to. And once someone realizes they walked away from a person who had the strength to evolve without needing closure, that thought doesn't just sit in their mind. It haunts it. Because they thought your world would pause. Instead, you built a better one. And now, the only question left is whether they'll find the courage to step back into it before you realize you've outgrown the version of them that left. Here's what most people miss. When you stop chasing someone who pulled away, you're not just withdrawing your presence, you're removing their ability to control the story. She was the one who distanced herself. She was the one who went cold. And for a while she believed that meant she had the power for some stay. But now that power is slipping, because when someone pulls away, they usually expect one of two things. Either you'll chase harder and confirm their value, or you'll disappear and prove they were never worth much to begin with. But the version of you she didn't anticipate, the version that disappears and upgrades, that's what messes with her now. Because she doesn't get to paint the narrative anymore. She doesn't get to tell herself you were just another person who wanted too much too fast. She doesn't get to say you were clingy or overinvested. She starts to feel something she hasn't felt in a while. Regret, not because she's in pain, but because deep down she knows that if she reaches back out now, she's not guaranteed the same version of you. And that's the catch. You're not angry. You're not bitter. You're not even waiting. You're just free from the need to prove, free from the urge to chase, free from the illusion that someone's attention defines your worth. And this version of you doesn't come back out of nostalgia. He doesn't return because someone misses the old you. He only opens the door for someone who shows up with clarity, maturity, and accountability. That's what reattachment really is. It's not about getting them back. It's about becoming the person who's finally okay with not needing them to come back at all. And that's the shift that makes them feel the very thing they were trying to avoid, the fear of losing you for good. Because now they're no longer wondering if you still want them. They're wondering if they ever really deserved you. It's not about attraction anymore. It's about recognition. She's no longer just thinking about how to pull you back into her life. She's finally starting to recognize what she walked away from. The person she distanced herself from wasn't chasing, wasn't begging, and wasn't playing tug of war with her emotions. He was just there, steady, solid, real. And now that same presence she once took for granted has become the one thing she can't stop thinking about. Not because you're doing anything new, but because your silence is speaking louder than any words ever could. She goes out, laughs with friends, scrolls through endless distractions. But at the end of the day, when the noise fades and the world gets quiet, it's you she thinks about. Not because of what you gave her, but because of what she can't find anywhere else. Your stillness, your calm, your certainty in yourself. That energy doesn't come around often. Now, instead of wondering if you'll text, she's wondering if you've already moved on. She's wondering who gets that calm now, who gets your attention, your focus, your fire. Because it's clear you're no longer wasting it on someone who couldn't hold space for it. And that thought burns deep down, even if she doesn't say it, even if her pride never lets her admit it. She knows she left something rare, something stable, something safe but powerful, something that didn't need to dominate her world, because it was strong enough to simply stand in it. And now she's stuck in a loop, checking if you're online, looking through old photos, wondering what she missed, and how she let something real slip through her fingers. But here's the final truth. You didn't become this man to win her back. You became this man because you finally refused to lose yourself ever again. You're not a comeback story in her chapter anymore. You're the one who outgrew the book. No matter how many times she reads it, rewrites it, or regrets it, she'll never get the same version of you again because he's not available anymore. He evolved. And now the only thing left for her to do is wonder what would have happened if she had seen your value before you realized it yourself. She might keep pretending she's fine, laughing with her friends, posting like she's unbothered, acting like she's moved on effortlessly. But deep inside, there's a quiet ache she doesn't talk about, not to them and not even to herself. Because what she lost wasn't just a man. She lost the one person who was solid while she was still unsure, the one who didn't need to yell to be heard, didn't need to chase to feel worthy, and didn't fold just because she pulled away. And now that silence you gave her isn't just the absence of your voice. It's the presence of everything you've become without her. She's not haunted by the memories. She's haunted by your growth. The fact that you didn't come running back, that you didn't fall apart, that you didn't try to fix something that was never your job to fix. That's what echoes. She expected regret to eat away at you. She never expected that she would be the one lying awake at night, wondering if you've already become someone too powerful to ever look back. And the truth is, you have. This journey was never about getting her to realize your worth. It was about you realizing it first. Because when a man finally sees his own value clearly, when he operates from grounded self-respect instead of emotional chaos, he doesn't need to be chased, praised, or validated. He becomes the standard, and that's when everything changes. So if you've ever been there, feeling confused, stuck, wondering what went wrong, and you're just now starting to reclaim your power, this is your reminder. You were never the problem. You were just giving your energy to someone who couldn't receive it yet. But now you're building. Now you're healing. Now you're becoming the man who doesn't break, he rises. And if that message hits you where it matters, don't just scroll past it. Tap that like button. Let it be a reminder that you're not chasing anymore. Drop a comment, share your story. You never know who needs to hear it. And if you're serious about becoming unshakable, subscribe. We're not just here to talk about what hurts. We're here to outgrow it. This is your time now. Make them feel the loss without saying a single word.